Welcome back. In this video, we will talk about consensus protocols. Firstly, to understand consensus protocols, let's understand the challenges that these protocols are constructed to solve. Because we already know the concept of consensus in blockchain if you watch the previous videos, like the Byzantine fault tolerance one. It's basically how the blocks on the blockchain agree with one another. And in our case of blockchains, the blockchain agrees on the path that it will grow on. How will it add more blocks? What's right? What's not right? When to add a block? What direction to add the block? So, as discussed in the previous video, the algorithm figures out which command to listen to, attack or retreat. And we have two challenges here. Number one is protection from attackers. What happens if an attacker tries to fool the blockchain by adding a block at the end of the blockchain? The second challenge is competing chains. What happens if two blocks are added to the blockchain and they clash without any malicious intent? This is perfectly normal. There could be a lag if the blocks are too far away from each other, and lag time is high due to traffic on the network. There is a possibility that two blocks are mined at the same time. And this has nothing to do with attackers, just a regular problem, and it's a common problem as well. So, since the blockchain has to be in consensus, how does it know which block to add in order to keep growing? Because these blocks contain different transactions in terms of crypto. So what does the blockchain decide? How does it decide? We can't just have the blockchain split up into two branches, because that would be a disaster, right? It's also important to note that there are actually multiple types of protocols. You have proof of work, you have proof of stake, and you have many more as well. But these two are the most famous. Bitcoin actually uses proof of work, and Ethereum is just about to shift from proof of work to proof of stake. And we'll talk about proof of work. What does it mean? Where does it come from? And how does it work? So, here you can see where we left off in the mining video a while back. As you already know, miners have come up with the nonce so that the hash produced by it fits the target value in order to be able to create a block on the blockchain. So they have to run thousands of iterations all day long. And of course, this takes a lot of time and power too. And that power means heavy investment. So that's the trade-off. Electricity bills are huge for mining rigs that mine cryptocurrencies, sometimes even up to $8,000 per day. Now let's go back to our distributed network. What happens when the miner adds a new block? The blockchain will reward the miner with a certain amount of the blockchain's native token. So Bitcoin's is 12.5 Bitcoin. The blockchain will reward a miner, and the miner also gets a fee for every transaction associated with that block. And this is the financial incentive for miners to mine. This is where they make their money, through this rewards and fees put together. And this is the work that they put in. With all that investment in computational power, they even have an incentive to play fair. So if they do all the work to solve the cryptographic puzzle and add a block with malicious transactions, and that block gets rejected by the blockchain, they won't get any fees. They don't want to risk this punishment, so they have to play fair. And how does the blockchain get to know if a miner is playing fair? Every time a block gets added, every node will conduct a series of checks, or a series of rigorous checks. They check the hashes of all the blocks and the timestamps and a lot more. If the check does not pass, then the new block gets rejected. And this trait of blockchains solves challenge number one. And this is the beauty of this system. The cryptographic puzzle is very hard to solve, but it's also very easy to verify, which is a very ideal scenario. It makes things much smoother. In mining a block, you have to do a lot of iterations to get the right hash and solve the cryptographic puzzle. You have to go through a lot of nonce variations. But in verifying it, you just have to check that it matches up with the other nodes. So just to clear that up, you saw here that to get a hash under the target hash, you have to go through so many variations of the nonce so that you can mine a block. But to check, you just need to look at that hash that is spit out by the block and see if it matches up with all other nodes in the blockchain. So the verification process takes little to no computational power because it's just one iteration of the blockchain. Whereas mining it actually is like a billion iterations, maybe even more sometimes. So I hope you understand this concept, and thank you.